All right, thank you guys. Welcome to our NBA video here today for Saturday, March 27th. My name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And despite going just 500 on my Patreon website yesterday, we're still 3-0 with a push in our last 4 board member tier package picks on that Patreon page. We also improved to 7-0 in our last 7 extra daily picks on that Patreon website as well. And if you want to join the 1,425 members who are currently signed up and active on that Patreon page, link for that site is in the description section below. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and start with the Pistons taking on the Wizards, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The Washington Wizards are the 3.5-point favorite at home. Totals 226. And if you like the Pistons in an upset win on the road here, they're plus $1.40 on the money line. But as bad as Detroit's been, these guys have actually been on a tear recently with regard to covering the number. 2-0 against the spread in their last couple of games, 70% against the number in their last 10. The Pistons are currently 15-9 against the spread when they travel, and they rank in the top 5 defensively in fourth quarter points allowed. Jeremy Grant's averaging over 23 points a game for Detroit, 5 rebounds, couple assists for the 6'8 forward. Meanwhile, Josh Jackson scoring 13 a night himself, along with 4 rebounds and a couple assists as well. The Pistons are in the top 10 in third quarter points allowed on the road as well. They're taking on a Washington team who may have to go to work here tonight without their leading scorer in Bradley Beal. Beal's been listed as questionable with soreness in his foot. Hutchison and Gafford are questionable as well for Washington. Now, the Wizards are currently on a 3-game losing streak, and they also dropped 8 out of their last 9. Washington ranks dead last in the NBA in points allowed. They're also in the bottom 5 in defensive rebounding. The Wizards have been victorious in just 8 of 22 home games as well. And when it comes to the total in this one, Washington is 4-3 to the over in their last 7. No real surprise there. They're also 14-8 to the over on their home court. Meanwhile, Detroit saw their last 2 straight get over the total themselves. 13-11 to the over when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Detroit Pistons plus 3.5 and the over 226. Next ball game, it is going to be Knicks versus the Bucks, 8 p.m. Eastern Start Time. The Milwaukee Bucks are the 9-point favorite at home, totals 223 flat. Despite their recent success, Milwaukee's actually been terrible against the point spread recently. They're currently 0-2 against the number in their last couple of games, 30% against the number in their last 10. The Bucks are currently in the bottom 10 defensively in points allowed, bottom 10 in defending the 3-ball. The Bucks are allowing 113 points a game. Now, Tucker and Portis are both questionable as well. They're taking on a gritty New York Knicks squad who actually won their last 2 straight ball games themselves, 3 of them straight up in their last 4. New York successfully covered the number in 7 out of their last 9, and they currently lead the NBA defensively in points allowed per contest. They're giving up just 104 points a game. Very tough to score on these guys. Julius Randle scoring 23 points a night, 10 rebounds, 5 assists for the starting forward. Meanwhile, RJ Barrett scoring 17.5 a night himself, 6 rebounds, 3 assists for Barrett. And I've been saying it all season long here. Both of those players I just mentioned, Randle and Barrett, they have yet to miss a game. They've gotten the start in all of their games this year. The Knicks currently lead the NBA in both defensive field goal percentage and defending the 3-ball. They're holding their opponents to just 32% shooting from beyond the arc when they travel. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, no real surprise here. 4 out of New York's last 5 stayed under the number. 15-8 to the under when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the New York Knicks plus 9 and the under 223. Next matchup, it is going to be Rockets T-Wolves. Another rematch here of last night's contest. 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Not a whole lot of scoring in that one. The Minnesota Timberwolves are -5, totals 228.5. Now, the T-Wolves took care of Houston by 6 points last night. They actually held the Rockets to just 101 points on the night. Now, believe it or not, Minnesota successfully covered the number in 5 out of their last 9, and they rank in the top 10 in the NBA in fourth quarter scoring. Karl Anthony Towns is scoring over 23.5 points per contest, 10 rebounds, 4 assists for the starting center. Meanwhile, it looks like Malik Beasley will be back in action here tonight. He's scoring 20.5 points per contest himself, along with 4 rebounds and 2.5 assists. What a comeback last night by the Timberwolves, by the way. But anyway, they're taking on a Houston team who's now officially 20 games below 500, and they've been victorious in only 6 of 22 road games. Now, the Rockets are dead last in shooting the 3 ball, bottom 3 in offensive rebounding. The Rockets are averaging just 106 points per contest. And when it comes to the total in this one, Houston saw their last 3 straight stay under the number, 5-1 to the under in their last 6. Meanwhile, 3 out of Minnesota's last 4 stayed under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Minnesota Timberwolves -5 and the under 228.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Bulls versus the Spurs, 8:30 p.m. Eastern showdown. The San Antonio Spurs are -2, totals 221. And if you like Chicago in an upset victory on the road here, they're plus $1.15 for some money line cash. And despite a little bit of a rough patch here, the Bulls have successfully covered the point spread in 4 out of their last 7. Now, Chicago currently has a winning record on the road this season. They've gone an impressive 14-4 against the spread in those road games. Chicago's in the top 3 in road scoring, top 3 in road offensive field goal percentage. Zach LaVine is scoring over 28 points a game, along with 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Now, keep an eye on LaVine's status here today as he's been battling an ankle injury. Meanwhile, Lauri Markkanen's also dropping over 17.5 points per contest himself, along with 5 rebounds. The Bulls are scoring 118 points a game when they travel. They're taking on a Spurs team who's on a 4-game losing streak, and they're still going to work here tonight without Walker and Bates Diop. Now, the Spurs have won just 10 of 23 on their home court, and they rank in the bottom 5 in home scoring. The Spurs also find themselves in the bottom 3 in defensive rebounding at home as well. Now, when it comes to the number in this one, 3 out of San Antonio's last 5 got over the posted total. 4-1 to the over in their last 5 hosting Chicago. Meanwhile, the Bulls are 10-8 to the over on the road themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago Bulls +2 in the over 221. Next ball game, it is going to be Celtics versus the Thunder, 9 p.m. Eastern start time. The Boston Celtics are the 8.5-point favorite, totals 219. But as bad as Oklahoma City's been this season, this is a mighty big number for the Celtics to be laying on the road here. They haven't been playing great basketball this year. They're traveling. You know, we're looking at a line here that could potentially get close to double digits. Now, the Celtics lost 5 out of their last 7 ball games. They're just 9-16 straight up this season when they travel. Boston's also successfully covered the point spread in just 9 out of those 25 road games as well. The Celtics are in the bottom 10 in road defensive field goal percentage, bottom 5 in fourth quarter points allowed. Tristan Thompson's still out on COVID protocol, and newly acquired Evan Fournier is questionable as well. Now, they're taking on a Thunder team who won 2 out of their last 3 ball games themselves, and they also got the job done against the number in 5 out of their last 9. And despite the absence of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here tonight, OKC is still in the top 10 in defending the 3 ball. Al Horford scoring 14 points a game for the Thunder, 6 rebounds, 3 assists for the veteran center. Meanwhile, Lou Dort scoring over a dozen a game himself, along with 3.5 rebounds. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this one, 2 out of OKC's last 3 got over the number, 13-8 to the over as the official home team. Meanwhile, Boston saw their last 3 straight get over the line themselves, 15-10 to the over as the official home team. I'm going to lean toward the OKC Thunder -8.5 and the over 219. Next ball game, it is going to be Grizzlies versus the Jazz, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Utah Jazz are the 10-point favorite at home, numbers 227.5. But as good as Utah's been this season, they've actually been pretty bad against the number recently. Now, the Jazz failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of their last 5. and they also went just 30% against the number in their last 10. They're currently in the bottom 5 in the NBA defensively in fourth quarter points allowed. They're also in the bottom half of the NBA in home offensive field goal percentage. Now they're taking on a Memphis squad who successfully covered the point spread against Utah just last night. They got the job done. They were catching 10 points, and they only lost by 3, hence, getting the job done against the number last night against the Jazz. They've also been victorious in 3 out of their last 4 ball games, and they covered the number 7 times in their last 10 outings as well. John Moran is scoring 19.5 points a night for Memphis, 3 rebounds, 7 assists for the starting guard. Meanwhile, Dylan Brooks is scoring over 16 a night himself, along with 2 boards and a couple assists as well. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies are currently in the top 3 in the NBA in defending the 3 ball on the road. They're also in the top 10 in the association in road defensive rebounding. The Grizzlies are covering in over 61% of their road games. And when it comes to the total in this one, 5 out of Memphis's last 9 stayed under the number, 23 and 19 to the under for the entire year. Meanwhile, Utah saw 3 out of their last 4 stay under the total themselves, 5 and 3 to the under in their last 8. I'm going to lean toward the Memphis Grizzlies plus 10 and the under 227.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Mavericks versus the Pels, 9 p.m. East. The Dallas Mavericks are the 1-point favorite on the road here. Totals 229.5. Now, we do have big injury concerns here for Dallas backers. Big injury concerns here. A lot of folks on the injury report. We have Doncic, Porzingis, Melli, and Terry all listed as questionable for tonight's action. Redick and Cauley-Stein are both out. The Mavericks are in the bottom 10 in road defensive rebounding, bottom 10 defensively in fourth quarter points allowed. They're taking on a Pelicans team who successfully covered the point spread in 5 out of their last 7, and they currently have a winning record at home. The Pelicans are currently in the top 5 in scoring on average per contest, top 5 in offensive rebounding. Zion Williamson is scoring 26 points per contest, 7 rebounds, 3.5 assists for the young starting forward. Meanwhile, Brandon Ingram scoring nearly 24 a night himself, 5 rebounds, 4 assists for Ingram. The Pelicans are in the top 5 in first quarter scoring, top 5 in fourth quarter scoring. Total-wise, New Orleans is 19-5 to the over at the Smoothie King Center, 30-14 to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Mavericks saw 2 out of their last 3 get over the line themselves, throwing out the Indy game. I'm going to lean toward the New Orleans Pelicans plus 1 and the over 229.5. Next ball game, we're going to take a look at the Sixers versus the Clippers. 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Doc Rivers returns to his old stomping grounds. Now, the LA Clippers are minus 4.5, numbers 222 flat. The Clippers are still going to work here today without Beverly and Ibaka. But even worse than that, both Marcus Morris and Kawhi Leonard have both been listed as questionable as well for Los Angeles. Now, the Clippers are in the bottom 10 defensively in third quarter points allowed at home. They're taking on a Philly squad who actually won their last 4 straight, and they also posted a record of 10-1 straight up in their last 11. Now, the Sixers are in the top 10 defensively in points allowed, top 3 in defensive field goal percentage. They're giving up just 108 points per contest when they travel, and they're led by Tobias Harris right now, who's scoring nearly 21 a game, along with 7 rebounds and 3 assists. Meanwhile, Ben Simmons, he's also scoring nearly 16 a night himself, 8 rebounds, 7 assists for the defensive-centric point guard. Now, the Philadelphia 76ers are scoring 115 points a game, and they currently find themselves in first place in the East. Now, total-wise, Philly's last 3 straight stayed under the line, 6-2 to the under in their last 8. The Sixers are also 13-9 to the under when they travel. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, we're taking a look at a Los Angeles Clipper team who's 4-2 to the under in their last 6 themselves, 5-2 to the under in their last 7 against Philly. I'm going to lean toward the Philadelphia 76ers plus 4.5 and the under 222. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Cavaliers versus the Kings, 10 p.m. Eastern Star Time. The Sacramento Kings are the 8-point favorite. Number's 222.5. Now, this is a pretty big number here for a Kings team who has a losing record at home. The Kings are currently dead last in the NBA in defensive field goal percentage, dead last in defending the three ball as well. Sacramento gives up over 120 points a night at the Smoothie King Center. And they let their opponents make 50% of their field goals there. They're also allowing their opponents to make nearly 41% of their three-pointers as well. They're taking on a Cleveland squad who covered the number in 3 out of their last 5, throwing out the Laker game. The Cavaliers are also in the top 3 in fourth quarter points allowed. Colin Sexton scoring 24 points a game for the Cavs, 2 rebounds, 4 assists for the starting guard. Now keep an eye on Sexton as he is battling a tender hamstring. Probably the reason for this high number right now. I'm assuming most markets are going to, rely on him being out here today, but he's officially questionable, hasn't been ruled out. Now, Darius Garland, he's scoring 16.5 points a game himself, 2 rebounds, 5 assists for Garland. When it comes to the total in this one, 4 out of Cleveland's last 6 got over the number, 6 and 4 to the over in their last 10 with Sacramento. Meanwhile, the Kings saw 3 out of their last 4 get over the total themselves, 16 and 7 to the over at the Golden One Center. I'm going to lean toward the Cleveland Cavaliers plus 8 and the over 222.5. And with that, guys, now it's time to dive into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like the Pistons plus 3.5 over 226, Knicks plus 9 under 223, Timberwolves minus 5 under 228.5, Chicago Bulls plus 2 over 221, OKC plus 8.5 over 219, Memphis plus 10 under 227.5, Pelicans plus 1 over 229.5, Philadelphia plus 4.5 under 222. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 3-0 with a push in our last 4 board member tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also a perfect 7-0 in our last 7 extra daily picks on that Patreon page as well. I like the Cleveland Cavaliers plus 8 and the over 222.5. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some YouTube shout-outs. Shout out to Long Trin, Meldon McClure, Mike Ernest, IT1SP, Jerron Legaspi, Huncho TYBME. Shout out to Sandbox Mafia Yo-Yo, SOP LFD Striker, House Rothschild, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my good friend, Helen Kim Chow. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do sign up here today, you're going to get access through the end of March. And then if you continue to opt in, you're going to get billed again on April 1st. So a lot of folks typically wait to the first of the month to sign up for a package, or they wait till early in the month to sign up, just because you're kind of getting max value. But with as hot as we've been, you may not want to wait until the first. You may want to sign up now and just get the content through the end of the month, and then just renew on the first. Either way, kind of a win-win for as many games as we've been winning here recently on Patreon. But anyway, guys, most importantly, gotta thank you guys for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.